Hello, this is Kenny, and welcome back to another episode of McKill's Deck Chronicles. This is your one-stop shop here for conspiracies from coast to coast. So, what we have here today is a podcast. We've got a little interview with Dave, Flat Earth Dave, from flatearthdave.com. I've talked to him in the past, and we had a pretty good conversation about Flat Earth. This one, we talked just a little bit about some of the things that's been going on in the Flat Earth realm, if you will, where some people went down to Antarctica and apparently saw a 24-hour sun, which most people think cannot happen on a flat Earth. So there's been a lot of go back and forth between on this, and doesn't affect me either way. I'm still a flat earther no matter what they think they saw or whatever they did see. But Dave has got a video coming out about that where he can show what they did to fake it. So that's going to be very interesting. So anyway, in this podcast, we talk just a little bit about some of that and some other flat earth stuff. So, give it a listen. Let me know what you think. Give me an email. Whatever. But let me get this thing started, and here we go. I'm glad you're here. Thanks for coming on again.
Thanks, Kenny.
You're welcome. And obviously, last time we talked, like you were saying, I was a beginner. I had found you through some resources and watched hundreds of videos. And I'm a Bible believer anyway, and then when I really got to delving into the Bible, I believe that the Bible teaches it as well. So, of course, I'm 100% sold on it.
Nice.
Yeah. So we talked, and we talked about it, and I did some stuff, and then I ran with it. And one of the things I wanted to talk to you about this time is, well, just everything in general, but I noticed one of the things that came up that's really big right now is that the final experiment thing that went on. Okay. And I've watched people go back and forth and argue, and they're still saying people are lying about what happened over there. Of course, I don't know any of the people that went over there. You do. And personally speaking, it wouldn't matter to me what they found over there because I didn't know anything about what they were looking for to begin with. I was a flat earther before they went down there, and I'll be a flat earther no matter what they say they found or what they did find. It doesn't mean anything to me. So,
well, that's funny you should say that, because we agree. It's not. I was the one that was supposed to go on that trip, and I turned it down because it was just a false dichotomy. The final experiment. It's not an experiment. It's an observation of the sky. It doesn't prove anything other than our understanding of the sky. But right after the recording of this, I'm releasing a video with Marty Leeds at the top of the next hour about how I think everyone down there was duped. I think this was a massive NASA operation, and they faked the sun in the sky. They didn't have shills. They didn't have liars. They didn't have green screens. They didn't have a studio. They were in Antarctica. And all of the flat earthers, and maybe even some, or probably even some of the globe earthers, definitely some of them, were also fooled. How about that?
Right. Well, I remember you saying that, and that possibly there was some gigantic thing going on there. And the funny thing about that is I watched a video, a Pastor Dean Odell, I think is his name.
Yeah, I think he said the devil was responsible for the sun.
Yeah, he was like, of course he has no way to prove it either way, but he's if
he's talking about the devil as in Will Duffy, maybe.
Right. Yeah, so it's like, well, he said if this really is a big, of course he's like me, he thinks it's a biblical conspiracy and Satan is behind it, Satan's behind this whole everything there is to do with the globe and all that. And he really wants to get some people down there and get somebody tricked. It's no big deal to have key players down there that, we don't know what they're doing down there. Everything's secret. They've supposedly done all kinds of weather manipulation and stuff down there. So if there was any place you could go down there and project something in the sky or manipulate the weather so it's perfect, that'd be the place to do it. Because there's nobody there.
Let me tell you how they psyop people into thinking that wasn't possible. When you new to flat Earth and you Google flat Earth, you get the image of the disk in space with the water falling off the edge, and then you look at that and go, "Oh, flat Earth is stupid," and you never look at it again. That's called a red herring, and you rule out flat Earth, and that's what they hope. People will just say, "Oh, flat Earth is so stupid. Look at that." So they did the same thing. This is an operation, in my opinion, that's been ongoing for years, at least 4, maybe a lot more. And this wasn't just something a pastor at a random church thought up, grassroots. This is a NASA operation like the moon landing, but it's a billion times easier than the moon landing, because the moon landing, the launch and everything, they had the entire world was watching, television cameras, people, camping, parks filled with people, stadiums, right? People were everywhere. What do they have here? They got 3 people in a remote, desolate area that's controlled by NASA. What do we know about NASA? They lie, they cheat, they deceive, and they're here to hide the flat Earth. That's the purpose of NASA. So what they did is they a few years ago they leaked Sun Simulator, the Sun Simulator, which is a whole bunch of light bulbs together, and it supposedly simulates the sun. Now, even if they probably do have ways to float that up in the sky with anti-gravitics or electrostatic levitation and stuff, but with today's optics and stuff, zooming in on that thing, it's not going to look like the sun. How are you going to do sunspots? How are you going to, basically, if you look at the Sun Simulator and use your mind, you're going to go, that's stupid. It's not going to work. Therefore, you just throw out the idea that they were faking the sun. They're faking the sun another way. And my video that's coming out literally in 1 hour from now is going to show you how.
Okay, well, that'll be a good video. I'll link that to my website. Well, that's what I thought. I saw the videos, I've watched them, and I've watched people go back and forth, and it kind of split some people up. And some of the flat earthers that I was following are calling some of the other flat earthers liars, and some of them are if they agree with you, they're lying. They're saying you're lying because you're and it's like, I mean, I believe that they could have been duped, the same as what you're saying.
They were totally duped, and so here's the thing. Innately, all of the people that are freaking out, they know that there's a deception going on. But because they had the red herring of the Sun Simulator, they've ruled out faking a sun in the sky. And so they're going after the only other way. Well, that means that people are in on it, and they're looking for anomalies, and they're finding anomalies that they don't understand. They don't understand that when you have packed snow in Antarctica, you're not going to leave a footprint in many cases, and so they had footprint gate, and then they have stitch gate, where they're like, look, there's a stitching line in the sky. That must be the edge of the screen. No, that's just the 360 camera stitching, which it does in hundredth of second intervals. And then they're like, oh, Austin Vape Gate, right? Well, Vape Gate, the story was that he was not in Antarctica. Well, he was in Antarctica. He knew he was in Antarctica, and he was perplexed that people didn't believe it. There's no reason for him to fake, being there if he's actually there. And it was all proven later. And, Shadowgate, where McToon walked across and his shadow grew in length. I was like, oh, that is interesting. Right. So I brought my wife outside. I made the same camera movement, had her walk the same way he did, and her shadow tripled in length in 3 steps or 7 steps. Right. So all of these things, I made videos not supporting the Globers, not supporting TFE, but showing flat earthers, hey, you're going to make us look stupid. All of this stuff is going to be revealed as nonsense, and you're going to make us look stupid. So I made videos trying to stop them. That's what I did. And people just turned on me like vicious animals. But you know what? I held my ground, and I'm being proven right, and people are apologizing. And now after this video comes out, hopefully the ones that have gone down this road of fakery, Amazon Studio, green screens, they have the not too much of an ego where they're willing to say, okay, hey, I was right that there was a deception, but I was wrong on how they did it. And if everyone focuses on what I'm presenting in 1 hour from now, I think that we're going to destroy the globe again, show that they're fakers and liars.
Right. Well, logically speaking, this deception has been going on all the way back, Jesuit type things, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years ago. And this is something that, is, I believe, again, is a satanic deception to get people
100%.
away from God. And they're not going to let a group of people go down there and prove their whole theory wrong.
Think about this.
How could they?
Yeah, there's government installations down there. There's educational installations down there. There's astronomers down there. And in all of these decades, none of them have produced 24-hour sun, except one guy that works for Nat Geo who faked flat Earth, who did a fake flat Earth experiment. They edited footage. We caught them red-handed. He works for them. He works for ALE. And then a bunch of propped up globers they're the ones that bring flat earthers down there to show the 24-hour sun. It's pathetic. I mean, the amount of evidence is overwhelming. It's so obvious, and hopefully people will see it, because everyone was looking everywhere for fakery except up at the sun. They were looking at the ground. They were looking at the breath. They were looking at the people. They were looking at the plane. They were looking at the controllers. They were looking at the globies. They weren't looking at the sun.
Right.
And that's where the fakery was.
So your video is going to kind of show that.
Totally exposing it.
Good. Well, I remember watching it as it went around. Some people had pointed that it looked squished. It would go down and get squished, and then it would come back.
We addressed that. Yeah, we addressed that.
So I'm sure there was a high level of fakery going on. I mean,
certainly is.
Of course, I'm what people would call a conspiracy theorist, and you've got high levels.
You're a conspiracy analyst.
I mean, there's high levels of that stuff going around. I mean, I'm sure you've seen it. I saw it the other day. It had to do with our withdrawal. The government's withdrawal, I guess, from Afghanistan. And it showed the airplane and all the people holding on to the airplane, and supposedly they fell to their deaths, right? And it shows the airplane, and you look at the airplane in the video, it's a fake airplane. It's it's a giant model.
I don't know why they did that.
There's
so crazy.
There's nothing in the engine. The engine is hollow. You can see the windows are painted on. You can see it's a giant model, and they're obviously pulling it, and there's people running along beside it. And it's like, okay, if that thing was really throttling up, those people up there would get sucked into the engine, and the people behind there would get blown back. But it's like,
I know.
Why would somebody go to that much trouble to make a giant fake airplane?
You tell me, man.
And if you're willing to do that and post it all over the news, and you've still got like the guy that's on, one of the conspiracy guys, whatever his name is, the big guy that's always, I think you were a guest on a show one time.
Alex Jones?
Yeah, Alex Jones. He was showing it the other day, saying, we're blah, 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 and shows that same video. And it's like, dude, you're showing a fake airplane, but you're not saying it's fake. You're pretending it's real. Yeah. He's like, turn your head around and look at your video. You're showing a fake airplane, pretending it's real.
Listen, so I've been on Alex Jones twice, and because of that, there's so many conspiracy analysts out there who are really conspiracy theorists, and they say anyone that gets on Alex Jones is a shill. No. Anyone that gets on Alex Jones is interesting and a hard worker. I mean, maybe there's some shills on there, but I'm not. And whatever I think of Alex Jones, whether he is 100% controlled, partially controlled, not controlled, doesn't matter. I got on there, and I had my segment with Eddie Bravo was the highest live viewed audience they've ever had. So we reached more people in that one broadcast where Alex was acting like a total asshat, but we got enough information out where I got thousands of emails from people. Thousands of emails. And, that show alone woke up more people than probably any other show I've ever done. So, again, people can think what they want, but, we can use anyone's platform to reach their audience. It doesn't matter who the host is. Hey, CNN, total control. If they wanted to have me on, I'd go on. Right.
Right.
But, probably their audience is tiny compared to Alex Jones's. So,
right.
Kind of pointless.
Yeah, I agree with that. Somebody had said, that, all these people in a group together and you can't get on the group and, and the whole thing, and they're all fake liars. And It's like, hey, they may be. I don't, like Roseanne. I don't know. But, if she invited me on the show and wanted me to explain what I was doing, I mean, I'd be happy to do it.
Yeah.
To get the exposure and say, hey, come to my ministry website,
Everyone loves playing the clip of her on some night show. And she goes, well, yeah, I made a deal with the devil for fame because I wanted fame. Maybe she did. Yeah. Doesn't affect me. Maybe she did. Maybe she broke that deal. Maybe she's paying for it. Who knows? But she wanted me on the show. She was generally interested. Her son was interested. They now have my flat earth compass behind her son. Every time the camera cuts to him on every show, you see a flat earth compass. It's amazing. Yeah. And so, again, the people that say that's, proof of, I don't know what it's proof of. It's proof that I'm a hard worker and I got on a big show. So that's what it's proof of.
Right. I agree. I don't see anything wrong with that.
Yep.
So, I mean, yeah. Well, I'm trying to think if there's anything else, anything new. Of course, I put a little book out, Flat Earth Bible, which you put on your app and everything, which I appreciate.
Oh, that's right. That's your book. Nice. Yeah, that's right. That's right. I forgot the connection. Yeah, that's a great book.
You wrote the little intro to it, and so I appreciate that.
That's awesome. That's in the biblical section and on the featured page, I believe, on the app. So
yeah,
hopefully more and more people see that over time because, printed books are the way to go because I think that all of our electronic stuff is going to be highly censored more than it is now in the near future. I
agree. Yeah, and it's one of those things. It's the same thing as like baby pictures. I was thinking about this years ago, when you had all these pictures and you've got this big box of pictures you can flip through and look through. And then they're like, oh, don't print off those pictures anymore. Here, take it on this digital camera and you can store it. Well, that stuff's gone. It's like stuff's like, okay, where'd that chip go that had all those thousands of pictures on it? I don't know. Or where'd that disc go?
Well, you got to look at it. I mean,
it's gone.
There's good and bad to everything. Look at all the people, their houses that are burning up in California. They lost everything except their cloud photos are still available. Yeah, so they didn't lose their photos. So there is benefits and, to everything. It just depends on how you use it.
Well, I guess you're right about that. Now, like on your iPhone or whatever, you can upload it to the cloud and back it up. I remember initially when I was taking pictures of my daughter, there was no such thing as that.
Yeah.
And they're just, if you didn't have a hard copy and then something happened to your disk or your computer fried or something that you had all these pictures on, it's just gone.
I'm a big fan of not using the cloud, but the cloud actually works. It works because eventually, who knows what's going to happen with the cloud. The other thing is, I highly recommend people when you get a series of pictures, go on vacation or whatever, get a printed book. There's so many places online. You get high quality books that'll last hundreds of years.
I've seen
so
those.
You get them. Hey, print out 100-page book. It's laid out. It's beautiful. The paper is amazing. It's, and the hardcover book. And you start saving these books and then you give them to your kids and their grandkids and their great grandkids. And they're going to have this record that is just amazing. So again, everyone should do that with their pictures. You should just once a year, once a quarter, depending on how many pictures you take, print out a hardcover, high quality book. There's all different services that do that.
Mm-hmm. They just mail them right to you. I've seen that.
Yeah. And the paper is amazing. It's not going to crumble. It's going to last hundreds of years.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm really, really interested in seeing your video. That's going to be interesting, I think. As I follow a lot of flat earthers and I've been doing a lot of studying on it. And a lot of people are really smart on the subject. And I know that you're not, I think you've said it before, you're not really, you try to do the science aspect of it.
I do both. I mean, because I know the science works for everybody. The biblical stuff only works for people that are biblical.
Correct. I agree with that.
But once you understand what this place is, you can this and that, and it's also in the Bible. There's a lot of truth in the Bible. It's an amazing, historical, scientific book. So again, the earth is not a lumpy rock floating in space, surrounded by smooth curved water, surrounded by high pressure air adjacent to a empty void of no pressure called a vacuum, right? That is ridiculous, stupid, impossible. The people in Narnia laugh at our global model. It's dumber than Narnia. And, there's people that will defend it because they're either just completely ignorant, possessed by satanic forces, or they're just stupid. I'm just being, it's the truth. And by the way, I used to be one of those people. I was one of them. I was until I took the time and effort to educate myself.
Yeah, I was too for many, many years.
Yeah. So we were all there, so when we're, you got to be kind to innocent, ignorant Globers, right? It's the anti-flat earthers that will never ever concede to anything, that believe we landed on the moon, that believe that it's condensation coming out of the back of airplanes, that believe that the thing you stick in your arm is good for you. They believe all the nonsense. They all carry the same line, and they also believe there is no God, right? So all of that together just shows you what where these people are coming from. And then when you actually use your brain, your common sense, and stop listening to nonsense, you realize your true potential. And that's what they don't want. They don't want people living to their true potential.
Right. Well, I know, and I think you've said this before, it's like a litmus test you can give somebody. The first question you can ask them is, do you believe we landed on the moon? Now, if they say, well, of course we did. And then you don't dare if you say, well, do you, are you all about getting, medicine for diseases you don't have? And they're like, yes, you're an uphill battle right there.
It's over there. It's over there. I move on from that point. But I'll tell you something, the truth, when Flat Earth first started and we were all, before Google Hangouts and everything, we were just on Skype having all night calls with, people that are pretty big Flat Earthers now. And we'd be talking this and that, and then I would literally, like, I'm in this group, we're talking all night. And then someone mentioned the moon landing, and I said, wait, we didn't go to the moon? And the entire thing they're like, what? You went to the moon? I'm like, yeah. And they're like, have you looked into it? I'm like, no. And then literally it took me 10 minutes to go, holy crap. And that was quite early on in my truth journey. But, I kind of came in backwards. Normally people find the moon landing fake and then find flat Earth. I did it backwards. Because I'm dyslexic, I think. Maybe because I have lystexia.
Well, I've wondered about that. Of course, I've never believed in the moon landing. I've always thought it was fake. But I never even considered that space was fake. I never considered that. And it wasn't until the flat Earth.
They were hiding the moon landing. Yeah, sorry, go ahead. Go ahead.
I was just saying, I never put the two and two together. And then after I put two and two together and realized the firmament and the flat Earth and the whole 9 yards, then I went back and I've listened to, like, I've done a couple of podcasts with Bart Sabrell, and he's the moon denier, and he's got everybody in their videos.
He believes in the globe, though. He believes that the pilots were in low Earth orbit. It's interesting, his funny thing happened on the way to the moon where he got the leaked footage of where they were using the window insert. So I believe that was given to him on purpose, because this is for the people that are halfway in between, people that are realizing the moon landing was fake but aren't flat earthers yet. So if they get caught up with Bart Sabrell, they'll be like, oh, they were faking the moon landing through the window, but they were in orbit.
Right.
Therefore, in the back of their head, Earth is still a globe, but they faked the moon landing, right? They were just in orbit over a globe. And that's all they care about. They don't care whether you believe we went to the moon or not. They just don't want you to know that we're at the center of creation. Right.
Yeah, the moon is probably irrelevant compared to the grand scheme of things, the whole picture. Yeah. So you get in the video and it shows the porthole on the spacecraft, and then they say, hey, we're high enough up you can see the Earth, but we're close enough you can't really see it, so we're going to pretend the porthole is the Earth, and we're going to put a piece of paper over it to show the shadow. And so when you get really caught up in that, you're like, well, see, we're in space, but they're just faking it. They're just faking the moon landing. And then when you really step back, it's like, wait a second. So you believe the moon landing's fake. Okay, I got you in there. But you believe in the Van Allen radiation belt. You believe in everything else as if it's 100% true. We just didn't go to the moon. It's like, no, it goes way beyond that.
Right.
You know? So
the whole moon landing thing was done to hide the flat earth. That's why it was done. You know, people like are interested in Antarctica, like, no, look up here. And a bunch of Freemasons went to the moon. So look at all the different space agencies. They're all working together. NASA controls the whole thing, in my opinion. And they're faking rockets every other day. They're doing all of this stuff. Think how big of an operation that is. All the people that they have to fool, all, you know, the employees there that they have to fool. Some of them are, you know, there's a lot of compartmentalization. I have lots of stories about that, but all of that is to make you believe in outer space. And, you know, they're going to use it as, you know, aliens, unite the world, one world order. It's not, you know, not just about hiding the flat earth. It's about achieving their goals of a one world government and one world religion and everything. But it's huge. Well, TFE, the final expedition, we call it. It's not final. It's not an experiment. It's just, you know, a psyop. It's as big as the moon landing, but it's 1 billion times easier. 1 billion, because they got 3 people, you know, maybe 10, in a desolate location controlled by NASA. Mm-hmm. And all they did was they faked the sun circling in the sky. It's actually old technology. It's old technology. It's simple. And, you know, people have been psyoped into thinking that it's not possible. It's ridiculous how easy it is.
Yeah. And that's really all they had to do. I mean, everything else down there, all they really had to do was say, hey, look, there's a sun out for 24 hours. They didn't have to fake the weather. They didn't have to fake the humidity, nothing. They're just like, hey, you're standing in the middle of nowhere in basically in the Antarctic desert down here. Yep. This is the far as you can walk. You're not allowed to go anywhere out of this area. It's off limits. And so look up real quick. Okay, you see it? There you go. You got it. You're done. Go home.
And the thing is, there are some biblical models that can explain it. The star rotation definitely can be explained. The sun rotation, it's a little more difficult. It might be a little bit of a stretch, but the way you got to look at it is, on the flat Earth, we have a small local non-physical apparent sun that we see, and it circles around the earth, and we understand how it moves. We look at my clock, wherever the sun is, it's noon. You can call somebody that's underneath the sun, they'll say it's noon and the sun's over them. So that's proven. The question is, what happens when you go outside of the edge of Antarctica? What do you see? Now, if they see a circling sun, let's say the sun was real, Joe Hanvey has his model, his biblical model. Hey, it makes a lot of sense. It explains how light comes there. It also could explain how a bright spot goes around, but I think you would be able to notice that it wasn't the same sun that we normally see. But there are other even far out models that it could be. All right. So you have all of those options in the flat Earth sun. Well, if you're going to say that light in the sky that circles around Antarctica proves we're on a globe, you have to say that light in the sky is 93 million miles away from Earth. It's in a space vacuum, uncontained. It's helium and hydrogen that have so much mass that it has gravity, and it can hold on to Pluto. It can hold on to Jupiter and Saturn and Mercury and Earth, but it ignores all of the moons in between, right? Because our moon comes around the Earth towards the sun, doesn't go faster. And when it goes away from the sun, it doesn't go slower, right? So the sun's gravity, made of helium and hydrogen that defy gravity in a space vacuum that can't happen because it defies every law of physics. It burns 640 billion tons of helium and hydrogen every single day, but it never gets any smaller. And nothing's refueling it, right? You have to believe in that and say the motion of that in the sky determines the shape of the ground that we've measured 1 million different ways to Sunday. It's the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
Yeah. And so, you know, if somebody brings up TFA and they don't want to believe that they faked the sun, just explain to me how you have helium and hydrogen. How much helium and hydrogen do you need before it collapses rather than violently fill the available space. When you have a pressure difference, if you have a box of air in a vacuum and you make a hole in that box, if it didn't explode already, it's going to violently fill the available space, right? And then they say that, oh, gravity is holding the air down. What? Right?
Right.
We see clouds going left and right at the same time, different layered clouds going in opposite directions. How's gravity holding the air down?
Well, it obviously it doesn't take very long. If, of course, I'm on X and other places, but it doesn't take very long if you're a flat earther to get somebody to come up and say something so ridiculous and off the wall, you can imagine. I'm sure you've heard it all.
The globe religion is a strong one.
It is. And so I had got on a conversation with somebody here a while back where they were talking about these airplanes flying and all this stuff, and they're saying, oh, yeah, this proves it's a globe. And I have a commercial pilot's license myself, and so I told them that. Of course, they rattled off some kind of equipment, and it was the name of a machine, okay, that supposedly is in these airliners. And
we're talking about a gyro with pendulous vanes?
I don't know. I mean, I know what a gyroscope is, and I know what gyroscopic rigidity in space is.
Yep.
And I even have an old gyro out of an airplane, and you can ramp it up and you can move it around and it stays level.
It stays level no matter what.
Yeah, in space. And rigidity in space is the key.
So the plane turns left or right or dives over the earth and goes, 90 degrees down halfway around the earth. It would be sideways. It would be pointing upwards from your orientation.
It would show me.
It doesn't change. It doesn't change ever. And then they say, well, the pendulous vanes were added, in the recent past. What about the gyros before that? The pendulous vanes I think that's just how they recalibrate themselves, but it's all stupid. It's all just the dumbest stuff ever. On my app in the frequently asked questions, there's a gyro section, I think. Or maybe it's in the airplane section. There's all sorts of videos on that.
Yeah. And well, the thing is like this guy, he argued with me and he said, well, this is in these planes, yada, yada, yada. And he tried to describe something and he named something. He didn't call it that. I said, I've never heard of it. He said, well, how can you be a commercial pilot then? I said, well, I didn't say I fly an airliner across the ocean. Okay. I didn't say that, but I have a commercial pilot's license. Right. And he's like, well, you would know that, blah, blah, blah. And I said, well, no, I got my commercial pilot's license in a Cessna 172. He goes, that's
Let me ask you a question.
Most ridiculous thing I've ever heard.
You're flying to an airport and let's say you're flying at 30,000 feet and you're 100 miles from the airport and it's now time to descend. How do you calculate your descent to the airport?
Well, in a Cessna, for example, I mean, you would, I don't know. Of course, number one, you wouldn't fly at 30,000 feet in a Cessna, number one.
Okay, so how it was 10,000 feet and you're 100 miles. So how do you calculate your descent rate?
Well, obviously, when I went to school at Spartan School of Aeronautics, you've got your map, your sectional, and it tells you the different areas you can fly in and what you can't fly in. And, of course, you're going to fly east, let's say you're going east plus 500 or west plus 500. So, aircraft don't hit each other, but you generally, once you get so many miles out, you just start slowly descending. You don't descend at any fast rate per se.
Well, you have to make a calculation to figure out how many feet per minute. Like if you're at 10,000 feet and you want to come down at an even rate and not have to nosedive at the last second, you got to drop 1,000 feet a minute or 100 feet per minute, right? 100 feet per minute or 1,000 feet every 10 minutes, every 10 miles,
right?
100 feet per mile, 100 feet per mile or 1,000 feet for every 10 miles, right? Did I get that right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, you could do that. I mean, it's kind of the pilot's discretion. It depends what you're doing.
Right. But a pilot on a major airline flying at 40,000 feet, they have to calculate how fast they need to drop. So, they have to drop. They want to do it smoothly. I speak to some commercial pilots and they're like, they like to start like 125 miles out because they want to come down really slow so the passengers don't feel uncomfortable. So when they do their calculation, okay, 125 miles out, I got to drop at X number of feet per minute or per mile to have a smooth landing without having to nosedive to get to the runway at the last second. The problem with that is nobody uses spherical math. They use linear math. And they just say, okay, if I'm at 10,000 feet and I got, 10 miles to go just for a number, it's 1,000 feet per mile I have to drop. But that's a pretty fast drop. Right. And then they'll get there. The problem is from 125 miles out, there's 2 miles of curvature, right?
Right.
So unless they calculate, they're going to be 2 miles too high when they get there, unless they calculate, and nobody calculates for curvature.
No, all you're calculating is above ground level.
Yeah.
I mean, you have your altitude, which is like MSL, but you also have your AGL. So when you're in a small aircraft, like getting your commercial license, you're going to be flying around at 4,000 or 5,000 feet. And when you come in, you're going to enter your traffic pattern at 2,000 feet or 1,000 feet or, 2,000 feet AGL above ground level. And so once you enter the pattern, then you start slowly descending and you turn on your final approach. If you're too high, which I have been hundreds of times because I've got about 800 hours, you just slip. You push the nose down a little bit, you turn your ailerons to the left, you push in your right rudder, and you slip it in, and you'll lose altitude quick.
Yeah.
Of course, you're not, obviously you don't have passengers back there.
When airplanes are flying at cruising altitude, jetliners, they're nose up like 2-3 degrees.
Yeah, so it's a little airplane. You trim it up.
Yeah, but the Earth is dropping away at a mile per minute. Right?
So your above ground level should start increasing.
Within an hour, you should be 80,000 feet.
Yeah, but it doesn't.
Okay. No, it doesn't because the Earth is flat. Airplanes fly over the Earth plane straight and level.
And see, that's what I was trying to tell this guy. I'm like, look, you get into 172 and you head out over the state of Kansas or Oklahoma's where I went. Oklahoma out there by the Panhandle is flat. Of course, I wasn't the Panhandle. I was in Tulsa, Oklahoma. But, you trim that thing up at 5,000 feet and you trim it. You just take your hand off the wheel, if you want to, and it'll sit there and fly itself. There's not any electronics doing it. It's a trim tab. And there's really no electronics telling you your attitude. It's a gyro. It's a gyroscopic thing that you had to manually set once it came up to speed. And it's like, and you just hold it there. If the Earth was dropping away, your above ground, your AGL would continue to get higher and higher. And pretty soon you're no longer at 4,000 feet above ground level.
Right.
And the only time that means anything like that is like if you're flying and you say, well, I know there's a big hill up here, and according to my little map here, it's at 2,000 feet. So when I fly, it'll still be 2,000 feet below me. That's the only thing you'd ever have to consider is your highest obstacle on your route. That's the only thing you need to worry about. And he's like, well, you're not a commercial pilot because commercial pilots, like I said, you're misunderstanding. You're saying jet airliner going to China. I'm talking about when this guy that you're claiming has his commercial license, got a commercial license, he went to a regular school and he flew around in a single engine airplane. That's the only way you can afford to get a commercial license. So when you're taking your commercial test, it's in a little single engine airplane. Okay. And that's what I'm saying is these gauges and stuff don't calculate anything for any curvature. It just doesn't happen. You can fly across the whole United States in a little airplane and never calculate for a thing. But goes, I don't even believe you have a commercial license. You don't know what you're talking about because a machine does all that for you. And I'm like, there is none of that machine in a 172 or a 152 that people are actually learning in to get their commercial. There's no such thing.
What proves flat Earth? Everything proves flat Earth. There's nothing that proves the globe. It's just your understanding of how we see, how we measure things, and all the, it just takes a little common sense to understand it, but people just want to believe nonsense. They've been indoctrinated before they can think. They want to go along with the groupthink authority, because it's changing, but most of the people in the world think the Earth is a globe. But that numbers are going down fast. They're going down fast. And I think this year, unless there's a great reset or something, I think that everyone's going to figure it out.
Well, I don't know if you saw the deal that was posted when TikTok got banned there briefly, that it was like the highest thing that's being searched for on TikTok. It was like in the billions of searches was flat Earth.
Yeah. Yeah, now they changed the algorithm though, and it's a lot of people aren't getting served the flat Earth stuff. I think that TikTok ban was actually just a change of servers. It looks like they changed over. They're now on the Meta servers, and they changed the algorithm, so it's getting much more censored.
That doesn't surprise me.
Yep.
Well, let me ask you this real quick. This is back, of course, to the flat Earth firmament thing. I had read a thing where they were saying years ago the government, when it came to satellites, you know, of course, obviously most of them are probably just on balloons. They were saying that they had thought that the government had somehow was attaching these different things, reflectors, and these, using air quotes, satellites, to the firmament, that they have things attached.
That is possible, but I'm actually premiering a video that, and I've talked to, we've done videos on this in the past, where Project Fishbowl is when they were shooting missiles up at the firmament, and when you hit the firmament with a missile, I think they can even do it with lasers. I'm not sure, but it literally electrifies that spot, and it has these amazing properties, and it stays there for decades, right? And when you shoot a beam at it, a signal at it, it'll send that signal back directly where it came from, no matter what angle it hits it at, and it'll also send it off at another angle. And so that's exactly what a satellite would need to do, and so. This whistleblower in the satellite business who was talking about this, he said that as it decharges over the decades, it's not like a linear thing where it gets weaker and weaker and weaker. It just decharges, and then all of a sudden it stops working. It doesn't like stop working a little bit or become weaker. It just goes to the point where it stops working. So now we have all of these mystery asteroids that are coming between us and the moon. And he speculates that they may need to start shooting up at the firmament again. And it would be something that could be seen, so they can claim that they're deflecting asteroids coming in. I also, he didn't mention this, but this is just me. All the Elon Musk rockets that are going up, the ones that look like they're scraping the firmament, maybe those are up there charging the firmament also for reflective signal. I know that there's in the 80s, was it in the 80s? Yeah. My father lived on a little island in the Caribbean, and he had like a 15-foot dish on his roof that actually moved. And there was 5 or 6 or 7 different spots where you can pick up a dozen channels. He would move it, and all of a sudden, bam, there's a dozen more channels, and bam, there's a dozen more channels. And it was picking up a signal from the sky. So I think that's exactly what they're doing. Just have it's being transmitted from somewhere to that spot. You point your dish at that spot, and that's it. That makes more sense than balloons. Imagine trying to keep a balloon over a directed, dish. Not going to be easy to do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that does make sense. If that thing could reflect, you could have a ground-based type satellite thing, and you could just aim it at one area in a region. And then when you go to somebody's house and set up their satellite, and they say, "Oh, we're aiming this in space," well, you're just aiming it at the reflection point on the firmament. So technically, I guess that's space, but it's not a satellite in space like they're claiming. And you know what I'm saying? So they're just doing a reflection here and back.
Yeah, there's a lot of deception. People say, "What about Starlink?" I've seen them go over. Well, Starlinks are about the size of a grown man, each one, right? And so you could probably fit, 15, 20 grown men inside a 747 engine if it was hollow. When you watch a 747 at cruising altitude of 7 miles, you can't see the engine. You can't see it. That's at 7 miles. These Starlink satellites, which are 1/20th the size of an engine, are 350 miles up. That's if they're directly above you. And we're seeing them with our naked eye. No. Sorry. You're seeing something. I don't know what they're doing. Maybe, maybe they're drones. Maybe there's some other technology. Maybe they're just a deception to make you think that Starlink works. Starlink does work and is working off of the firmament, if you ask me.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I wondered how they're pulling that off, because you get the Starlink. My neighbor had it up here, and it's a box, and you just set it outside, and it's like, well, is it really getting something from the satellite, the sky, or is it just getting radio waves?
So check this out. I actually think that Starlink is using airplanes, because think about it. Airplanes are only 5 to 7 miles in the sky. They're everywhere. They have all of the Wi-Fi equipment. They have everything on there. They have a power source. They can be serviced on a daily basis. They have everything. Like, look at them like a cell tower. A cell tower needs electricity, needs to be serviced. It needs to know where it is. Well, airplanes have all that. Airplanes are flying cell towers. And so the higher up a cell tower is, the bigger the surface is. Well, a cell tower 5-7 miles tall, that would have a mighty big range. So we can pretty much say that there is airplanes everywhere in the northern hemisphere at all times. So always one within Starlink's range. Even in Antarctica, there's enough planes close enough by at the height needed to pick up that signal. Mm-hmm. And it makes, if they're not doing that, it's stupid. I was on a flight to Mexico, and I was on a live chat. I'm downloading and uploading videos. I mean, the service was amazing. I had my airplane mode on. I'm connected to the airplane's Wi-Fi, and it said, let your friends know that you're connected via satellite. So that means that the airplane, my signal is going to their router. They're sending it a minimum of 350 miles up into space. 350 miles. And then that tin can up there that doesn't have a power source is sending it back down past the airplane to a cell tower. That's the official story. Mm-hmm. Okay. Versus, why didn't the airplane just send it to the cell tower?
Yeah, that would make more sense.
No, it doesn't make more sense. It's the only thing that makes any sense.
Yeah, I mean, the airplane is doing the transmitting.
Yeah,
it's transmitting it to a land base. Yeah, a tower.
Why transmit it to a tin can that's floating in space above you 350 miles away minimum? Right? It makes no sense.
That actually reminds me of something a friend of mine tried to get me into a while. It's been a couple of years ago. But he had, and I'm sure you've seen these things, it's like a tracking device is what it is. I think the Apple tracking device is the same way now. But basically, you bought this little box, and you put it on, if you've got Wi-Fi like I have that's always on, DSL, you just put this little box up with an antenna. And you have to buy it, but what they were saying is when somebody drives by and they're running this app, whatever this app is, it would ping off of your thing, off of your little antenna. And you would get like a couple cents, so you could make money, as these people are bouncing off. And I said, well, what is it exactly? And he said, well, it's a way to track these different things. And how it's doing it is it's doing it because if enough people have it in an area and they all have those little antennas up, it's basically their Wi-Fi and their internet's what's providing its connectivity.
Yeah.
So they can pinpoint where it is based off where it's touching these people's Wi-Fi stuff. And he said they're doing this trial thing, and you'll get paid for it, to where whatever they're going to do with it, which who knows what they're going to do with it, they can make a tracking device, and it's we, the citizens, that are supplying the whole infrastructure and everything and the connection on our own stuff, and and it's tracking us in the process. It's the same thing. You put the thing on the airplane, and it does the work for you. The airplane's already in the air. Well, you got 10,000 airplanes in the air. Well, there's your Starlink.
When the Ukraine war started, Elon Musk said, I'm shutting down Starlink over Ukraine. You know why?
Why?
Because they had a no-fly zone.
No airplanes, no Wi-Fi.
There you go.
That makes perfect sense.
Yep.
Yeah, well, like I said, I know they can do it with your own simple little router and your own Wi-Fi at your house. And then I got to looking into those AirTags, like that Apple comes out with, so you can find your stuff. And you read the detail on it, and it pings off people's iPhones.
It pings off of iPhones. Anyone that has Bluetooth on, it picks it up.
Yeah, it just picks it up.
Location. Yeah, it's amazing. It works well.
Yeah, so I mean, if you can do that simply it's getting pinged off their iPhones and they don't even know it. in their back pockets. You can imagine what you do if you said, no, I really want to throw this up, and I've got 747s in the air, thousands of them, airplanes everywhere, and towers everywhere. I mean, you fire up a couple of 747 engines, you can power probably a pretty big piece of equipment in the back.
All right.
Like really send out some signals. And here we're doing it with a battery and something the size not much bigger than a silver dollar, and it's pinging off people's iPhones in their back pockets and tracking things. So I think it's very possible that's exactly what they're doing.
There you go.
It's on a larger scale.
Information in the satellite section on the frequently asked questions page of my app, flatearthdave.com. If anyone wants to learn more about what we're talking about, I have my app there, and I also have the crash course. Just watch the crash course, and you too can lose the respect of your family and friends.
Yeah. And I have that app. It's a pretty good little app, and it's got a lot of stuff on there you can click on that you can't find anywhere else. So it's...
Yep. I tell people just watch the daily video every day where you have your coffee or tea or whatever you have in the morning. And within 2 weeks, you'll be a full on flat earther. Guaranteed.
I can agree with that.
Yeah.
And I've got some people I have sent over there and tried to get them to watch a couple things. And it's either pride won't allow it, or I'm not exactly sure.
Tell them that I'm offering 3 Bitcoins if they take my challenge. They have to watch the daily video every day for 2 weeks. At the end of the 2 weeks, if they have a globe proof, they win 3 Bitcoins. That's not 300 grand, 330 grand.
Mm-hmm. Say they're up to 100 and some odd grand now.
Yep. So that should motivate them. And if they're like, well, no, I'm not going to do it anyway, then they're not interested in learning. You have to use your mind. A lot of people don't want to use their minds. Whatever the easy way is to say, it's stupid, I'm not looking. That's easy.
That's easy.
Yeah. You don't have to actually think. And a lot of people don't know how to think. They only know how to memorize and regurgitate and, repeat what they hear.
Yeah. And what I've run across is a lot of people are like, what does it matter anyway? I've still got to go to work tomorrow. I don't care. I don't care what the shape of the earth
program
is.
Response. That I said the same thing.
They just don't care. And it's like, it doesn't affect me any. And it's like, well,
it does. That's the biggest case of Stockholm syndrome ever.
Mm-hmm. And I have a guy that I talked to, and I went to a party, and it's about a Bible thing. And I read stuff, and of course he says I misunderstood it. And so this other guy chimes in, and he says he's a non-Bible believer. He doesn't believe in the Bible. He doesn't believe it was written, by God, anything like that. And he gets in an argument with this guy, this Christian guy, and he goes, look, the Bible teaches flat earth. He goes, I don't know why you don't believe it. And so this guy says, well, you don't believe it. And he says, because I don't believe the Bible. He's like, but it clearly, if I was to believe it, he said, it clearly teaches it. I don't know why you can't see that. And it was interesting to have basically an atheist arguing, saying the Bible teaches flat earth, to a guy that's a Christian. He read the same verses. He's denying that it teaches flat earth. And so I've got a Christian guy and an atheist arguing with each other about it. And they're the ones that brought it up. I didn't even bring it up, which is funny because, you'd think I would bring it up. But I every time I go to these different family functions and stuff, it's like, well, if you bring it up, Kenny, you're going to get attacked immediately. So
but the truth will set you free. Fear will keep you lost in their matrix.
Mm-hmm. Well, what I initially did is I just didn't say anything, and if they ask, I would talk to them about it. And the last few, through the Christmas and holidays and all that, the very first thing they do is want to bring it up, and then they won't stop talking about it. But they have to say, hey, now you're wrong about this, and explain this and explain that. And it's kind of like one of those things. I saw a meme, I guess it was, where they're like, if a Glober asks you anything about it, they'll say, I want you to explain everything from history, the moon and stars, how everything works in perfect order. And if you can't, if you're wrong on one thing or don't know, you don't know nothing. It's like, you're asking me stuff that even the scientists don't know. How am I supposed to know that?
The globe has been falsified many times, and falsification is independent of replacement.
Yep. So it's interesting. So.
All right, man. Anything else?
Well, I don't think so. I appreciate your time.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks. And anybody listening, take the Bitcoin challenge to one proof that we live on a globe and you win. But before you do it, you got to click the frequently asked questions section on the app and make sure your proof hasn't been debunked there, because it probably has.
Mm-hmm. And they can find all your information at
flatearthdave.com. Yeah, follow my socials there and just just start watching some of the stuff on X, Flat Earth Dave X. All of them are linked on flatearthdave.com.
Mm-hmm. And I'm here to tell you, it's a good website. You can learn a lot on there.
Yep. And it's up to you. If you listen to this podcast and still think the earth is a globe, that's called willful ignorance.
Right.
Not a good place to be.
No, it's not. I was there once, but I'm not there anymore.
All right. It's awesome.
I'll look forward to seeing your video you're going to put out that debunks that stuff down there in Antarctica about the sun. And I'm going to eventually link it to my website as well. And
it's premiering on Flat Earth Dave Interviews 2 and Marty Leeds Gnostic Academy channel. And I'm sure it'll be mirrored on many other channels after.
Good deal. Can't wait to see it.
All right, Kenny, thanks.
Thanks for your time, and God bless you.
All right, thanks. Same to you.
And there you have it, folks. That was an interview with me and Flat Earth Dave. I hope you liked it. I hope it helped you. Give me an email. Let me know what you think. You can email me at truthseekers2012@gmail.com. You can check out my website. It's flatbro.com. You can check out Dave's website at flatearthdave.com. You can also go to my ministry website, which is kennywilliamson.com or truthseekersministry.org. So go check that out if you'd like to. My whole reason for doing this is to get people to come to know the Lord before it's too late. I believe that Flat Earth leads people back to biblical cosmology, which proves there's a creator. So there's no way to deny creation if you believe what the Bible teaches, which is, in my opinion, flat earth. So anyway, I hope this helped you. Hope you liked it. Please share it if you did. Pass it on. And, if you need anything at all, let me know. Thanks for listening, and God bless you.